Oh yeah, how you doing? Last night I watched an old black and white film. It was made in 1945. It was about uh, an airbase, an airfield RAF in the Second World War. I like to watch the old black and white films. I don't know why. It's maybe just nostalgia for a time gone by. I was looking at these guys and the ladies who look so. In those days, women used to dress like women. The men, of course, were immaculate. Oh, I know it wasn't like that always in real life. But in this film, the men, of course, were immaculate because they were in RAF uniform. They were all pilots and pilot sergeants and aircraft mechanics, things like that. And I was looking at these guys, and I thought to myself, this is the generation that brought me up. These guys were my role models. I mean, when I went to school, a lot of these guys who'd been in the RAF and the military, well, they became teachers, and yeah, they were my role models. I mean, it didn't do me very good in the long run, I must admit. But then I'll tell you why, because I was thinking this, and I said, "Oh, wasn't it wonderful? Weren't those days wonderful? The 1950s, how wonderful it all was." And I'd completely forgotten that I had the most bloody awful childhood. I was going to say that anyone could have, but of course that's not true. But I did have a very bad childhood, beaten regularly, lied to, abused. I won't go into it, but all sorts of abuse uh, from these men who I'm just thinking, oh, these are my role models. They were wonderful. Times are great. They weren't great at all. The world was full of nonsense, even in the 1950s. It's not a new phenomenon. People abuse our children. People say, "Oh, we could go out. We could go out during the day and come back in the evening, and nobody cared. The kids were safe." No, no, we weren't safe. I certainly wasn't safe. And a lot of my peer group, is that the right word? Peer group, weren't safe either. We were abused. I mean, sometimes things happened to. Well, I could tell you a couple of stories. They're in my book. I could tell you a couple of stories about being abused. I'll say it, sexually abused by grown-ups. And we were, on one occasion I can remember vividly, there were about eight of us, boys and girls, and this one man abused us all. So I've been looking at these films thinking, oh, this is wonderful, isn't it wonderful? It wasn't wonderful at all. It was as bad then as it is now. And human nature being what it is, I suspect it'll never be solved. There are just some vile people in the world. Now, having said all that, there were some wonderful people in my childhood as well. Very, very wonderful people. I can remember teachers. I can remember the lodge keeper at one children's home I was in. Both lodge keepers, actually, fantastic guys. One of them had lost a leg in the war. His name was George. And Reg was such a nice guy that I don't know why, but he took me under his wing. I even went to his house, and his wife used to make me cakes. And one time I'd run away from the place, and I'd bought myself a pet mouse. And when I was captured, brought back to the home, I didn't have anywhere to put this pet mouse. And Reg, he actually made me a little cage for it and kept it in his house, in his living room, not in his living room, in a little utility room. He kept the mouse in there for me. He lived about half a mile away across the park. Oh, I'll tell you, it was Shirley Oaks Children's Home I'm talking about. And there was a place, Addiscombe, at the back of it, and you could walk across and about the big field and maybe quarter of a mile, half a mile away, a load of houses, and Reg and his wife lived there. Now today, you couldn't do that. You couldn't invite a child to your home, and without some repercussion. Reg will probably these days would probably get sacked. Yeah, there was someone, and there was Mr. Hewitt, my first male teacher at school. Wonderful, wonderful bloke. Harry Hewitt, his name was. He's the one who, well, I remember he taught me more to read. Who else? There was Mr. Parr, the bandmaster. Lovely bloke. He used to write the music. Used in when I was playing the euphonium, he used to write the music, which fingers to press down. So the music was there, but he wrote down which fingers you should be pressing when you were playing the tune. And crikey, we must have sounded bad. But we used to go to sort of some fates and play there. Shirley Oaks Band. I played it was called the second baritone. It was like a small tuba. Yeah, yeah, he was a lovely old guy. There were some wonderful people there as well. And I had some good foster parents, foster mums and dads, and there were also some bad ones. It's just life when you had, if you was in care, you had no one to stand up for you. So actually, I went when I first went to. My mum came and got me when I've now worked out that I was 13 years old when she reappeared in my life, and took me to Scotland. And I realised when I got to Scotland, um, I didn't trust anyone. I didn't trust any man I met. Didn't trust my stepfather at first. I was always expecting the worst. Didn't trust the teachers. But strangely enough, I didn't have come across any nonsense when I lived in Scotland. Maybe I was too old for them. Yeah, and all this train of thought has come about because I watched this old film and was thinking to myself how wonderful it was back then. And yet, one of the incidents I had caused me, according to the psychiatrist who later saw me years and years later, that I suffered because of an attack that had happened to me. I'd been suffering post-traumatic stress, which of course didn't exist in those days. It's similar to shell shock. A lot of people didn't believe that men were shell shocked after the war. Idiots. Yeah, so I'd been suffering from this post-traumatic stress, and it came out when I was free from the children's home. I was still in care, but my mum had me looking after me, although it didn't work out, to be honest. In the 2 years I was with her, uh, 13, 14, 15, because when I was 16, I went to the Merchant Navy. But before that, I'd been in other children's homes since I'd gone to Scotland, because I couldn't kind of settle into, well, I don't know, well, they used to argue a lot, my mum and his stepdad. She was mainly the argumentative one. Yeah, so, and then of course I started getting into lots of trouble. I used to, believe it or not, such a kindly old gentleman smoking a pipe. I used to always be fighting. I couldn't ever give up. I wouldn't give up in a fight. And and because I was English or had an English accent in Scotland, it was always my fault. Sassenach. Uh, yeah, so I got into lots of trouble. And really, if I hadn't had that bad incident happen in my life when I was 11 years old, uh, one of many bad incidents, but this one was particularly bad. If that hadn't happened, there's no way I would have got into any trouble. I'm pretty sure of it because when I was a very small boy, up to about the age of 7 or 8, I wouldn't have said boo to a goose. I was very quiet, just got on with life on my own a lot. I didn't mix very much. Still find it difficult to make friends these days. Although I've been lucky. I've tried hard and come through. Yeah, so all this, I'm sorry about this train of thought. I hope it's not distressing for anyone, but it all came about because I watched an old film and was reminiscing about how wonderful life was in those days. How soon we forget. But I suppose it's a good thing that I could forget. It means I've got over it a lot. I don't dwell on the past much. So I thought I'd have a smoke of my pipe. That's a peaceful thing to do. It's been raining all day. All bloody day. Trying to get my new shed started. Not going very well because of the rain. It's absolutely, you're walking through water. I'm walking through water out in my paddock. Mind you, that's the worst thing that happens. Life can't be so bad, can it? Anyway, I hope you're all okay. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was I've now got 18,500 subscribers. I'm not making any money. In fact, I've got less views. I get less views these days than I did in the old days. All my old regulars still comment and watch. Thank you very much for doing that. But most of the new ones don't seem to come back. I'll tell you how much money I'm going to tell you about the money because someone said to me, you must be earning quite a lot of money, John. Well, last month I earned £4.09 from YouTube. That's the truth of the matter. Yeah, I've got 18,500 subscribers and I still get roughly the same views as before. Perhaps even a few less, but then, I can't get out on my motorbike and the motorbike ones are popular. That could be that. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Just thought I'd pop in and say hello. Depress you all. Sorry about that. Anyway, look after yourself. I'm nice and cozy in here. Mia's down there. Bonnie's up on top of the cupboard. Nigel's there, watching me. Lots of love. See you soon. Bye. Bye.